This video is brought to you by Straight Goods News, Canada's alternative online news source. Visit straightgoods.ca.
Critics of the federal government's omnibus budget bill are calling it a Trojan horse because of all the stuff that's stuffed into it. But that's way too kind, because at least the Trojan horse looked kind of cool. This thing ought to be called the garbage truck bill because of all the rotten, foul stuff that's crammed into it. And when you get digging down into it, you find more and more of it. And this truck is aimed directly at the heart of rural Canada. Why do I say that? Well, look, first you've got raising the age of retirement. What's that going to do? Well, in rural Canada, more people are old than in urban Canada, and so they're going to have to work longer, and they're going to take jobs away from the few young Canadians who are left in rural Canada. What about the Fisheries Act changes that this omnibus bill is bringing in? Remember the firearms registry? I think you might remember that. People in rural Canada were so mad about that they voted out the Liberal government and brought in the Harper Conservative government. And you know, a lot of people who hunt also fish, and they're not going to be very happy that corporate polluters are allowed to foul up their favorite trout stream. But the worst of it all for rural Canada is the changes to employment insurance, EI. It's going to be easier for an uninsured American to get a CAT scan for a hangnail than for an unemployed engineer in Canada to get another job in her field, because Stephen Harper would rather that she was out working in some darn strawberry field. What about the carpenter's helper who works 9 months a year, gets a layoff in January, and is going to be forced to drive an hour? You can't get a subway or a bus in rural Canada. Going to be forced to drive an hour to work for minimum wage at Tim Hortons. And then 3 months later, what does he do? He leaves Hortons and leaves Hortons in the lurch? Or maybe he just doesn't return to his place of work. Well, who's going to build the houses? Who's going to do the logging? Who's going to work on the farms? It's crazy. You know, there's only one job out there for every 6 Canadians looking for work. And now with these changes, foreign workers are going to be able to be paid just 85% of minimum wage, and Canadian workers are going to be forced to compete with them. It's crazy. We remember what the gun registry did to politics in rural Canada. It gave us a conservative government. And you know, these changes could have the very same effect. Rural Canadians might decide the suitable employment for the people who thought of these changes is a long, long way from the levers of power.